Jeremy Clarkson, the famous TV presenter of Top Gear and Clarkson's Farm, recently attacked Christianity by calling Jesus a fraudster and a con artist. Writing about artwork and passing rubbish art off as a masterpiece, he said this: "Take a lesson from the biggest fraudster of them all, Jesus. I can walk on water, my mom was a virgin and my dad's God, and I'm going to start an industry selling this stuff that will last 2,000 years. Top man." That might make you angry, but I've actually got 3 responses that I think are maybe going to be more helpful than just straight up rage. The first I learned from Glenn Scrivener, if you're familiar with his work, around the time of the Summer Olympics in Paris, whenever that whole Last Supper scene mocked Jesus. Glenn Scrivener said something really profound and really good. He said that Jesus has already been mocked more than we could ever mock him. Like the cross, the crucifixion, everything that entailed was more humiliating than anything anyone else could put him through. He went through that, he died, he rose again, and he's exalted now in heaven. And so for someone like Jeremy Clarkson to throw in a little bit of rage bait into an article and call Jesus a fraudster, it's disrespectful, it's blasphemous of Jesus, but is it like so offensive that we should be like, oh my goodness, this is the most horrifying, horrendous thing anybody could ever say about Jesus? Well, the cross was more horrendous and horrifying. We rightly say that Jesus is King of the universe, that he's to be honoured and respected, but have a look at what Paul writes in Philippians 2. He points out that Jesus, though he was God, did not count equality with God a thing to be grasped, but emptied himself by taking the form of a servant. This is the King of the universe, taking the form of a servant, washing his disciples' feet, living and dying for them. It says, being born in the likeness of men, and being found in human form, he humbled himself by becoming obedient to the point of death, even death on a cross. And so in light of this, it says, therefore, God has highly exalted him and bestowed on him the name that is above every other name, so that at the name of Jesus, every knee should bow in heaven and on earth and under the earth, and every tongue confess that Jesus Christ is Lord, to the glory of God the Father. Jesus was already humiliated more than he can ever be humiliated again. Like whipped, beaten, dragging a cross through the city, stripped of all of his clothes and hung to die and to be stared at by everybody. Humiliating stuff. But now he's exalted. He's sitting at the right hand of God on his throne. Saying that he's a fraudster is kind of like saying LeBron James is bad at basketball or Rory McIlroy is bad at golf. It's like it doesn't really matter what you say because it doesn't change the objective reality, and they have the accolades to prove that your accusation is false. Second thing that I think is going to be a helpful response to this is to remember that really famous C.S. Lewis quote about how Jesus is either a liar, a lunatic, or a Lord. If he's a liar, then he's a wicked man. He made all of these claims and deceived so many people for a really, really long time. If he's a lunatic, then he's like the man who said he's a boiled egg. It doesn't really matter what he says. But if he's Lord, then we got to submit to him. Those are the categories that Jesus allows for himself. C.S. Lewis is talking about how Jesus doesn't really allow for the category of good teacher. You can't say, oh, Jesus was a good guy, taught some nice things, because he also taught that he is God and that he's going to be the judge of the universe. And so he's either a liar, making it all up, a lunatic, or he's Lord, like it's actually true. Jeremy Clarkson here is claiming that he is a liar, and at least, to Jeremy Clarkson's credit, a lot of people say that Jesus didn't exist. That's really dumb. A lot of people say that Jesus was just a nice guy and a good teacher. That's also really dumb. So at least, to give Clarkson some credit, he falls into one of those 3 categories. I think that's perhaps the weakest of those 3 categories, that he was a liar, because what did he get out of it? Well, he was killed at 33, he lived in material poverty, he was a homeless wandering rabbi. It doesn't really fly. But Clarkson is just rage baiting, I guess, which brings me to the third thing I want to say, which is let's not take the bait. Okay, whenever things like this happen, whenever somebody writes in some column or says in some video, critiques or mocks something that is really dearly held to people, it incites loads of online rage and debate, and then it just boosts the viewership of the thing. I understand the irony talking about this, making a video about this, it sort of feeds into that. But as Christians, let's not take the bait. Let's not react to these things the way that everybody else in the world does. That's a very worldly, reactive, human anger sort of way of responding to these things. Proverbs 12:16 is a verse I really love and try to live by. Let me show it to you. It says, the vexation of a fool or the frustration of a fool is known at once, but the prudent ignores an insult. It's really easy to just rise to these things, rise to the insults, rise to the rage bait, but it says, like the vexation, the frustration of a fool is known at once. They immediately respond in anger. But the prudent, those who have thought to the future, thought to their actions, thought to the consequences of their actions and the way that they're going to be perceived, the prudent ignores an insult. And so I think in this instance, the prudent thing to do is to ignore the insult, to let it slide, because it's like, well, Jesus has been mocked worse, and now he's the king of the universe. Now, the good news is that this idea that Jesus was just a liar, it's becoming less and less popular. Jeremy Clarkson he's in his like mid-60s, I think. He's of that generation where atheism really peaked, and for a long time it was looking like that is going to be the dominant view. The West is going to become more and more secular, but now it seems that Christianity and faith and belief in God is peaking again, particularly among the younger generation. So if you want to know more about that, it's really encouraging, it's really awesome, then you can check this video out, and I will hopefully see you there. God bless.